Good afternoon and welcome again to the ALS Today and Tomorrow webinar series. I'd like to now introduce Jeff Gonzalez with New Motion.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Indiana ALS Association's webinar series, ALS Today and Tomorrow. This series was created to provide education, support, and information for people living with and impacted by ALS. As Judy mentioned, my name is Jeff Gonzalez, and I am the Midwest Regional Vice President for New Motion, and I will serve as your host for today's webinar. New Motion is a proud education sponsor for this series. We are passionate about serving the ALS community and longtime partners of the Indiana chapter. Currently in Indiana, we host and manage the equipment loan closet for the people living with ALS. And you can also catch us at the IU Neuroscience and Parkview Fort Wayne multidisciplinary ALS clinic serving individuals and families impacted by ALS. I'd like to take this opportunity just to tell you a little bit more about New Motion. We are the nation's most innovative provider of mobility solutions, and we work closely with you and your healthcare team to build a customized mobility and medical supply solution tailored for your specific needs. We have the largest selection of products of any provider in our space to ensure you get the equipment and supplies to maximize your independence and consistent mobility needs. We are able to assist you with your complex and basic power and manual wheelchairs, specialty wheelchairs and standards, service and repair, and urology supplies. We've consistently led our industry in developing innovative tools and process to provide the best possible support to those using mobility equipment. Our mission is simple: to improve the lives of people with disabilities by enabling them to actively participate in everyday life. We strive to make the process of getting and living with mobility equipment as easy and efficiently as possible. Now it's my pleasure to introduce you to our featured speaker for today's webinar about assistive technology for people living with ALS. Alisa Brownlee is the Manager of Assistive Technology Services for the ALS Association, Greater Philadelphia chapter, and is also a consultant to the National ALS Association. She has been in the field of assistive technology for over 20 years. Her specialty areas are communication, computer access, electronic aids for daily living, and home modifications. Alisa is 2000 graduate of the California State University, Northridge, with a graduate certificate in assistive technology. She's a certified assistive technology professional, living in place professional, aging in place specialist, and a wheelchair service provider. Incredible. Just a bit of housekeeping before Alisa speaks. Please feel free to ask questions throughout her presentation in the Q&A section, normally the chat section area. We will facilitate questions and answers after Alisa speaks, plenty of time for that, but we will monitor the chat feature throughout the Q&A section throughout our time together. So now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Alisa Brownlee. Miss Alisa.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate that wonderful introduction, and I am going to share my screen with everyone. Just give me 1 second to go. There you go. Okay, and I want to start off by saying that I will share my presentation with you. Should you want it, you can send me an email. Also, both Judy and Connie will also, or they do actually have a copy of this presentation, so feel free to email them too. As Jeff mentioned, I've been in the field of assistive technology for over now 25 years. I just celebrated my 25th anniversary with the chapter last week, and it's hard to believe it's been that long. And I am going to be talking about a lot of products today. I have no financial interest in the products I am talking about. I have just found them useful to help people with ALS live their daily lives. So in talking about assistive technology and how it can benefit somebody with ALS, and most people say, well, what is assistive technology? Well, the definition is any item, piece of equipment, software program, or product system that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of a person with a disability. It can be from, very low end to very high end. Many people, though, with ALS have specific needs when it comes to assistive technology, and that includes this list: communication devices, computer access, environmental controls, smart speakers, durable medical equipment, wheelchairs, and adaptive vehicles. I am going to touch on all of these. Now, this is my presentation today is literally just touching on everything. I actually have 1 hour presentations for each of these subjects on our chapter website. And that link is on my last slide today. So when I'm touching on, for example, computer access or communication devices, if you want to see my entire 1 hour presentation, you can watch it on the chapter website, or you can feel free to contact me after this and with your specific questions. If you do have a specific question with a slide I'm on, please don't hesitate to write it in the Q&A. I'm happy to answer the question, or if I use jargon that you don't understand, please let me know. So I want to talk a little bit, though, about how assistive technology is funded, because we have great technology out there, but a lot of times it's not funded through medical insurance. So just know that some durable medical equipment, like the wonderful wheelchairs Jeff mentioned, they are covered under most insurances. They are considered durable medical equipment, which is the acronym is DME. And for traditional Medicare, they will fund 80% of what they call the allowable, which is the contracted rate. Medicare does have strict criteria when it comes to durable medical equipment, which I've listed here. Know that you have for wheelchairs and for communication devices, it's one device every 5 years. If you are living in a long-term care facility, like in independent assisted living, that's fine. You will get your DME covered. Not though if you're in a nursing home, which is considered skilled care. Also, durable medical equipment is not funded when you're on hospice. It is hospice's responsibility to provide your medical equipment, but they do not provide communication devices or wheelchairs. Managed Medicare, like signing up for one of the programs you might see an advertisement for on television, Blue Cross Managed Medicare or United Managed Medicare. Their usual coverage is about 80% for the cost of any form of durable medical equipment. Now that varies from company to company, but that's just the general average. So I spelled Indiana wrong, sorry. Indiana Medicaid, for their website, they do pay for some durable medical equipment, and the criteria is listed here. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, is the waiver program. Every state with their Medicaid program usually has a waiver program. Not everyone qualifies for the waiver program, but it is a way to get assistive technology that might not be funded under your durable medical equipment program or policy. So, we have some people who are able to get ramps through this for the waiver program. According to the website for Indiana, you can also use the waiver program if you qualify for vehicle modifications. When it comes to private insurance, durable medical equipment and assistive technology is dependent on your insurance rider. And basically, a rider is your policy provision that says we will pay X amount for prescription drugs. And then they list those prescription drugs. We'll pay X amount for durable medical equipment. So that might be 100%, it might be 80%, it might be 50%, it might be nothing. Do not assume you have durable medical equipment coverage If you have private insurance, you need to call your insurance company and say, what is my durable medical equipment provider or provision? You know, how much are you going to pay me or pay them or pay my vendor? Under the Veterans Administration, for a person with ALS, if they have an honorable discharge, they can apply for veterans benefits, which would cover 100% of any medically needed durable medical equipment and assistive technology. But you have to be enrolled with the VA to get these benefits. And if you are struggling trying to get involved with the VA or enrolled with them, please reach out to the PVA, which is the Paralyzed Veterans Administration. It's pva.org, or of course, contact your local chapter with questions. So Connie or Judy, I can't see the Q&A when I'm presenting. So if there's a question, if you could read it out to me, I certainly appreciate it. Or Jeff, anybody?
I'm monitoring the Q&A right now, Lisa.
Okay, because I just saw that it came up that there was something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll address all the questions.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
You got it.
Thank you. So I want to talk about calling for help, because of all the things that I talk about, the most important thing that I think that people need is a way to alert their loved ones that they need help. And so you need to figure out, how am I going to call for help within the home and call for help with outside of the home? So within the home, you can use baby monitors like this. And the baby monitors, most of them now have cameras, so you can actually check on your loved one. And you can use, you know, if the person still has hand dexterity, any kind of bell, cowbell, dinner bell, whatever. You can buy wireless door chimes like this. These are available. I bought one at Walmart recently. It was $12. So the individual with ALS keeps this portion, and then wherever the caregiver is within the home, they carry this portion. And when this is depressed, it gets a ding dong wherever the caregiver is, right? So you could use that. You can use that in conjunction with a baby monitor, just to be on the safe side. You can use a item. This is called an easy call bell and alarm. All right. This is the bell. This is the alarm. And this bell can be placed anywhere where there's muscle movement. So say I'm in bed and I don't move, I can put it under my chin until I get off. Okay, I can put it near my head, put it near a foot. I can activate it with my elbow. It doesn't matter. It's a 1/2 ounce of pressure. All right, this is called an easy call bell and alarm. Now it is wired. All right. So what some people will do, if they're sleeping on separate floors, for example, or in separate rooms, you put this with the person with ALS where they can hear it, and you put it next to the baby monitor so that wherever somebody is within the house or on a different floor, they can still hear this go off. Okay. Sorry. So you can use adapted pagers. These are available on Amazon, and it's the same premise of a wireless door chime, except that some of them vibrate, so that I know I have some people who like to go out on their riding lawnmower, or they'll go out into the garden where they can't necessarily hear a chime, but this one vibrates. So you put it on your waistband, and if the button is pressed, it will vibrate for you. You can use electronic doorbells, you know, Ring or any others. You can put the doorbell in a room, just like you can actually use a webcam too. And so if the person needs help, they can hit the chime and it'll go off on somebody's cell phone, on a tablet. It'll go off on a smart speaker, whatever they have it hooked up to. You can use the I've fallen and can't get up system. These are monitored emergency alert systems. So they're two-way, 24-hour, constantly monitored systems where you put an intercom like this in somewhere in the house, and the individual that needs assistance either wears a pendant or they wear something on their wrist, so that when the button is depressed, it makes a call through the intercom to this monitoring service, and they answer and they'll say, "Hi, Alisa, do you have an emergency?" And I say, "Yes, I need help." And so then they have a list of people to call. It doesn't necessarily have to be 911 at the first call. And I hear that a lot. I don't want to bother 911, so I don't want to purchase this. The monitoring service has a list of people they can call. It might be my neighbor, it might be my husband, it might be somebody else. And then if they can't get a hold of anybody, they can call 911. There is an installation and a monthly fee to use these services. Now, what happens if you're using a lifeline? And I have people say, well, I can't use my hands. Well, as I mentioned, there's a wrist component here. If you can't use your hands, you can actually put this wrist one. If you have foot movement, you can put this around your ankle. If that doesn't work, there are switch adaptable lifelines. This is a switch, okay? It's just a round button and you can hear it. I hope you can hear it, making that sound. And you can put switches anywhere on the body there's muscle movement, okay? And then this switch can plug in to a receiver for the lifeline so that I can be, like, say if I'm in my wheelchair and I have my headrest here, I just hit this and I've made an activation the same as I would on a pendant on a wrist. Okay, so switches are ways for you to control equipment, not just the lifeline. You can use a switch. We'll talk about this in a few slides, but so you can use this type of switch to activate your iPad, to activate your iPhone, or to use a computer. There are cell phone life alerts, and this was important for those of us like me who dumped their landline years ago. So I haven't had a landline in about 5 years, and I only use my cell phone. So if I need a life alert on my cell phone, they do have them now. And some of them even have you can add a GPS feature so that if you love going out for a walk and you fall in the park and you press the button but can't speak, they can find you through your GPS coordinates. There's a really good article on Consumer Reports about how to choose a lifeline or a medical alert system, and I've included the link here. It's a very comprehensive article that goes through your choices for landline and your choices for cell phones. You can buy specialty telephones, and you can buy these off of Amazon or other specialty websites where they'll just send an emergency alert. So again, the same thing with the pendant. And what you do then is that you take the base phone and you put a recording in. Hi, this is Alisa. I need you to come over to the house. I've fallen. Okay, that's my message. So that when I press this button, the phone starts dialing for me the first 4 numbers that I've put in. It might be my neighbor Connie, and then my neighbor Judy, and then my friend Jeff. And so once I start, I press the pendant, it'll start circulating dialing. If Connie doesn't answer, it jumps to Judy. If Judy doesn't answer and Jeff does, Jeff will get my message. All right, so these are, it's a one-time purchase. There's no monthly fee, no installation. For those of you that are a little geeky like me, I love my Apple Watch 4, and it does have fall detection, and I can attest that it works. And I'll give you a very quick story about my very spoiled dog, who I take to the dog park every day. And about, I would say a month and a half ago, I wasn't paying attention, and the pack of dogs literally running full force hit me from behind, and I fell. And I feel this haptic, and I look down, it says, I've detected you fallen. Are you okay? And I answered, I'm okay. But if I didn't, I could press the emergency SOS, and it'll send an emergency call along with my GPS coordinates. If I don't answer within a minute, it does that for me automatically. So it is a nice way to have fall detection without having to wear a lanyard, or, which sometimes people say, oh, it screams that how about I fallen and can't get up system. Well, this is a nice way to circumvent that, and it works. So I want to talk a little bit about voice activation for those that can still speak, but might have some hand fatigue or cramping, or maybe you don't have hand function, but you still have vocal function and you want to access your phone or your tablet or computer. You can do that all through your voice. Through computer access, there's a software program called Drag and Dictate, which basically gives you full access to your computer, including mouse control, through this software. There is a new software called LipSurf, and this works on the internet. It allows you to use your voice control on both Mac and Windows to surf the internet and to do your online shopping or whatever else. For cell phone activation, and on your Apple phone, you can activate Hey Siri. So right now, if you want to activate Siri and you don't have Hey Siri on, you have to press the side button or the home button and say, hi Siri, and then she answers you. If you activate Hey Siri, which is just under your general settings, what that'll do is if my phone is across the room from me, I say, hey Siri, I never have to touch it. So she'll say yes. I'll say, send a text, and she'll say who to. And so we do all that. I never touch the phone. In September of 2019, Apple came out with voice accessibility. That gives you full voice control to your cell phone. It does everything through voice. It can take a picture through voice. You can open up any app through your voice. You could do the same thing in Google with the Google app called Google Voice Access. So within Apple, voice accessibility is just in your general settings under accessibilities. In your Android, for Google Voice Access, you do have to download that app from the Google store, but both of them give you full voice control of your cell phone. So basically in this picture, I just give you a general glimpse of it, but when you're using voice control, all of your icons are assigned a number. And so if I wanted to open up my calendar here, I would say 2, and then it opens up my calendar, and then everything under my calendar has a number. So I just keep giving it commands accordingly. And then also in your Android phone, what I just said about Hey Siri, their counterpart is OK Google. So again, full access, limited and full access to your cell phones through your voice can be done now. You can also use smart speakers as voice activation devices. You know, your Echo or your Google Home can do a whole lot of things for you, set timers and reminders and tell you the weather and other things. And then you can actually turn your home into a smart home using these smart speaker devices. So smart speakers, I have my Amazon Echo here. They allow you, if you have one with a screen, they allow you to make face-to-face calls with people. This has been really essential tool, especially in COVID world, when all of a sudden, within months of March of last year, we had nursing homes shut their doors, no visitors allowed. And so the only way people could communicate was on FaceTime if they had a cell phone, but now also on smart speakers that have a screen so that they can see who they're calling, okay? And so I'm just giving you, again, Google has their Google line, I'm giving you Amazon, but both of them are just as good, whatever you're comfortable with. But the one with the screen on Amazon is the Amazon Echo, and they come in, and the difference is just the screen size. It's 5, 8, and 10 inch. You're looking at the 10 inch here, all right? But it's nice because you can make phone calls. It's synced to your smartphone. So I can make a call. I could say, you know, her name, call so-and-so, and it will. And I don't have to touch it at all. Smart speakers respond not only to my verbal voice, but they will respond to a communication device voice. They don't care who's talking. It's all about the commands. It's not what voice is coming out. It's the commands you're giving it. So I'm going to go back and just show you one thing as I talk. When I was talking about calling for help within or without the home, the other part that you can use your smart speakers to do that. So if you have 2 smart speakers with video or with the screen, you can do on Amazon, it's called a drop-in. So I'm going to say, Alexa, drop in to the Echo spot.
Elisa's Echo spot, right?
Yes. Now my Echo spot is upstairs. So what I'm going to, it'll give me a blurry screen for about 10 seconds and you can't hear it, but on my spot, I just got an alert that somebody wants to drop in. Now I can decline the drop in or not. But I have my spot upstairs out my window so that y'all don't see my dirty bedroom, but that's what it looks like. So if my caregiver was, or my loved one was upstairs and I'm downstairs, I can drop in and just make sure that they're okay. They haven't fallen out of their wheelchair, that they're doing okay. Alexa, stop. So it's a nice feature. And the nice thing about that too is that I can be grocery shopping. And if I want to drop in on my loved one who's sitting at home in the living room, I can do that and not worry that I'm at the grocery store and I should be home watching them. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about voice message and voice banking and message banking. And voice banking is the process of recording your voice for possible future use to a communication device. And message banking is basically recording an authentic message on your cell phone or your tablet, again, to play back should you have to use a communication device. And although the voices are nice on the speech generating devices, some people want it to be their voice. So I have a list. This is of February of just a month ago, this voice banking chart of the different manufacturers of voice banking, how many hours or minutes you have to put in. And there are some costs associated with this. There is a national organization called Team Gleason, and it's teamgleason.org. I have their information at the tail end of this. They will help fund any charges for voice banking. So if you feel you need help or financial help, or you want assistance with voice banking, please reach out to Team Gleason. You can also, of course, reach out to me. But you know, it's nice that Team Gleason is funding this to make it available to people with ALS and their families. Now, I want to talk a little bit about voice amplification. Why do you want to use this? Well, we have some people who have weak voices due to their weak diaphragm. So they talk very whispery, and they'll talk like this, and they'll say to me, I need to get louder, okay? So you can buy a voice amplifier. There are several different ones on the market. You can also now buy these off of Amazon. This is a wired one. The ones I get off of Amazon are Bluetooth. So this speaker could actually be in the kitchen, and I'm out here with my microphone, and I'm able to talk to whoever's in the kitchen, whether or not it's my husband or my children. But basically, an amplifier just amplifies your voice. So hopefully this won't squeal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. I'm not putting in any more effort. This is doing the effort for me. So if you're straining to project your voice, and that's actually fatiguing. And so this whole process of ALS, we tell you, don't fatigue yourself if you don't have to. Well, let the amplifier do it for you. The other thing that we are noticing now, more and more people are using non-invasive ventilators called a Trilogy. And my respiratory therapist at the Jefferson ALS Center, when she recommends Trilogy, she always starts with a full face mask, saying that is what is best to get the optimal use out of the Trilogy. Well, at night, when I'm talking about how to call for help, well, how are you going to call for help if your mouth is blocked? Okay, that's something to think about. During the day, if you can still speak, right? When you have this over, and then I have two things, and then once it's on, nobody can hear you. So here's what I have people with ALS do. I'll say, you know, tell me about your daily routine. Oh, they'll take it off to talk with me. Then they'll put it back on. That's defeating the purpose of the Trilogy. You want it on and on your face to get the maximum amount of benefit from it. So what you can do, you can have this, and there's something called a transdermal microphone, and it goes against the vocal cords so that you can still speak, and you turn on your microphone, you turn on your amplifier, and you can still speak and not remove the mask. Okay. So for communication issues with people with ALS, every person's different. Nobody will progress the same with this disease. But what we do have statistics are 50% of people with ALS will become dysarthric, which is slurred speech, but that can be mild, moderate, or severe. 25% will become anarthric, which is the inability to produce any speech or sound. And 25% will be able to be understood throughout the course of this illness. But if you add up the top, you're looking at 75% or more of people that need some form of communication help. And it might just be something simple. It doesn't have to always be complex because we don't know. But there is no one right answer of what people do for communication. It's an individual decision, but most people will use multiple modalities of communication. Your communication method, I'm going to be blunt here, is going to be different when you're in the bathroom and sitting on a commode than it will be when you're sitting out in the living room. Okay, it just will be. So know that there's no one right system that will benefit you in every area of your home or the community. Okay. Pardon me. So when we talk about communication, we're talking about alternative communication options, also known as AAC, or the other acronym is SGD, speech generating devices. Your choices for communication, you can have rapid access, you have high-tech devices, and then that are not paid for under insurance, and then you have high-tech devices that are paid for under insurance. So if you walk away from this presentation today, I talked about the importance of having a call system. The other thing I want you to walk away with is how to communicate easily, rapidly, that you can use in the event of an emergency, or that you can use just to get your point across very quickly. All right, and that's called rapid access. The first priority, absolute first priority, is that you need to establish a yes, no, and a maybe system. Do not just ask yes and no because you are forcing the person to answer incorrectly. Because if you said to me today, Alisa, do you want to go out today? Yes or no? Well, I know it's supposed to pour here in Philadelphia today. I don't want to go out in the pouring, but I didn't ask that. I was asked if I want to go out, yes or no. There has to be a maybe in there. All right, establish the system. A lot of people say, oh, I like to use eye blinks. I don't like to use eye blinks. First of all, I might blink and miss their blink. Second, you do have people with ALS that get a really lazy blink. They'll do this. Okay, well, was that one blink or two blinks? I don't know. I prefer giving people targets. So I'll stand at, in front of them or at the end of their bed, and I'll say, look this way for yes. I hold my arm out. Look this way for no. Look up for maybe. Okay, we do that. Yes, no, maybe. And then I write it down and I put it on the wall. Joe says yes, no, maybe, bye. That way, anybody who interacts with Joe, it could be a first responder, it could be a police officer, it could be anybody, knows how to talk with him and get those crucial answers. Because we know that the people that can't communicate are the ones who don't receive the appropriate medical treatment. All right. Or people walk in and they ignore them because they don't know how to talk to Joe. All right. So that should be on the wall. Everybody who walks in can know those, how he says yes, no, and maybe, because then you can have a conversation. All right. And then you can take it up a notch. You can use letter boards or picture boards. These are letter boards. We, the National ALS Association, provide these free. You can get a free communication kit with multiple boards. I'm happy to send it to you. My email is going to be on the last slide. And the other thing to walk away with is that you do not need to point to use this. All right. I have people say, I don't use a letter board because I can't point. That doesn't matter. All right. We established something called a partner assisted scanning, where I would say to you, is the first letter of the word you want in row 1, 2, 3. If you nod, I say I, J, K, K. Okay, there we go. Because it's a double-sided letter board, and that's all I'm doing is asking the question. All right. And so you can use whiteboards, letter boards, anything. This is called a boogie board. This is one of my favorites. It's off of Amazon. You can get it anywhere, actually. But it's an LCD board. So I write stuff on, all right, I wrote hi there, and then I press the button and it disappeared. And then I can start writing again and I disappeared. okay? And these come in multiple sizes. This is like a 5x7, I think, but there's paper size, 8x11. There's also a pocket size. It goes right in like a pocket in front of your shirt, okay? You can use laser pointers. This is a specialty laser pointer from a company called Low Tech Solutions, but you can buy a laser pointer. You can go to Five Below, grab a laser pointer. Usually most of them have a button on the top. Put a piece of popsicle stick and duct tape around that button. It'll stay on. You put it on your glasses or put it on a hat. You have the alphabet or things that you need to say on a piece of poster board, which is $69 at my local Walmart, or 69 cents, sorry. $69 would be a lot for a poster board. 69 cents. And so then I can be moving my laser pointer and communicating for whatever I want. And that's less than $5, all right? But as I mentioned, insurance does fund communication devices like these, high-end communication devices. However, they don't fund them, and I mentioned this before, when somebody is in a skilled nursing home or somebody is on hospice. There are loaner programs. Some chapters have loaner programs. There is a national loaner closet through the same organization I mentioned that helps with voice banking. It's Team Gleason, and it's here, teamgleason.org. If you do have insurance coverage and you want to go through the AAC process of getting a device from your insurance, just know that that the assessment, it's a specialized assessment that has to happen by a speech language pathologist that has with a credential called CCCs. No other profession can do this assessment. You have to have an SLP assessment. And usually it's actually a team effort. They might bring in an occupational or physical therapist, someone like me, an AT provider, a rehab engineer. So all this documentation has to be done. A report has to be written, which is then submitted to the vendor who bills insurance. So insurance will only pay for current needs, not future needs. I get this question a lot. I saw this eye gaze on Facebook, or I saw it on the internet, and I want to get it now so I can learn how to use it. I would love for you to get it now too. I'll be honest with you. Medicare doesn't want you to though, because that's not a current need, that's a future need. All right. So Medicare will pay for a device, and then you can add on, should you need it later, your eye gaze portion, okay, or your head mouse portion. Because they're not going to pay for a device that is not medically necessary now. And that's the problem. Eye gaze devices aren't funded unless the SLP, that's the speech language pathologist, can document there's no other way that this person can use a communication device. So know that you can get one through insurance, and it can be adapted as the disease progresses. And also mounts, you need a mount for these insurance devices, because they're around 6 or 8 pounds, you know, pretty heavy to carry, so that you can get a wheelchair mount, you get a rolling mount, or you can get an all-encompassing mount. So if you don't have insurance coverage, or if you're in a nursing home, or you're on hospice, or you simply don't want a device from your insurance, what are your choices? Well, you can use mainstream technology, iPhones, iPads, Android tablets. There's all kinds of apps, and they are not a lot of money. Really, they start at $15. Some of the apps that you can find on the Apple Store, because there's over 400 communication apps right now, some of them are $500 or more. Do not spend a lot of money on this, right? If there's no other language issues involved, all you need is basically, it's called a text-to-speech app. And so you can get them for relatively, you know, $14.99 to $100. There are apps that come in multiple languages. Some of them come up with up to 19 languages that you can choose from. So if you need an alternative language, let me know. I keep a running list of the apps and what languages they come in. And then you can access your iPad through various different ways. I do have somebody who uses this and loves it, but you can use a stylus. This is one of my favorites. It's like an old radio antenna that, you know, is retractable, but you can put it around your wrist. And so I could actually be touching my computer just from where I am now, which is, you know, 4 feet away, maybe 3 feet, okay? You can use switch access. Remember, I talked about a switch before. Embedded in iOS is switch access. What you do need is an interface like this one from RJ Cooper, or this one is called a Techless Shield, where the switch gets plugged into this and it sends then a wireless signal to the iPad to do something. And in terms of scanning, it'll go row, and I hit my switch and I come into this and it'll go column. I hit my switch and it would open up calendar for me. All right, I can do everything on the iPad with a switch. Now, in the newer iPhones, iPhone 10 and up, or the iPad Pro, there are front-facing cameras that now the apps are starting to use these cameras. I have the list here. So that, for example, I use Hawkeye. So, but Hawkeye can only do so much. It doesn't give me full access to my iPad, but I can watch YouTube videos. I can check Yahoo and do other things. But full access to the iPad Pro or an iPhone 10 or above is not possible unless you use something else. And the something else is called a Skyle. And this is a device that fits around the iPad Pro, and it only works on the Pro. That gives you full eye gaze control of your iPad. Right now, it came out last January, so we're still hovering around $3,000. I know that number will come down, and no, it's not funded under insurance, but it is an alternative to get full eye gaze control on an iPad Pro. You do want mounts if you're buying your own mainstream device. I bought this one off of Amazon, and it's a nice one, a gooseneck. It has this part where I can put this on the side of my wheelchair. I can put it on the side of my hospital bed, and it's just a clamp. And I can maneuver the gooseneck to whatever position I want it in. For an Android tablet, you can access them with a finger stylus, mouse, head mouse, or eye gaze. Androids have more accessibility than iPads just because of the nature of Android being wide open and Apple systems being a closed system. They really don't like third-party stuff on their products. So, or you can also use a full-size laptop. If you're more comfortable in a laptop, that can be turned into a communication device too, through free software that's available. I have the software. Oh, sorry, I had it and deleted it. There's free software. It's called eTriloquist that you can download into your laptop, and it'll turn your laptop into a communication device. In terms of access, you can use a head mouse instead of your hands. So basically, a head mouse is activated by using an on-screen keyboard, which is already embedded in every Windows and Mac now under accessibility. So then you buy the head mouse portion like this, and it sits on top of your computer like that. And you wear a reflector dot between your glasses or between your eyebrows on the bill of a hat. And basically your head becomes your mouse, and you move and you dwell onto the letter that you want, and it types the letter for you. Now, a head mouse for computer access is not covered under insurance. However, if you're using your head mouse on a speech generating device that Medicare has approved, it is a covered item. You can get eye gaze for your computer. You can just, I have my laptop, I have my Android tablet, I want to turn it into an eye gaze. Well, you can buy an eye gaze bar from Tobii or from iTech, where they're about $2,000, as you can see here. Or now embedded into Windows 10, there's already eye gaze software, and you can use this device. This is called a Tobii. It was 4C. I don't know. I think it's 5 now. But you can buy this for about $250. I got this off of Amazon, and I just place it on the bottom of my Windows computer. And as I said, the eye gaze software is already in Windows. All I have to do is launch it, and I've turned my Windows 10 device into an eye gaze. Now, you see the difference of price, $250 versus the $2,000. The difference is in accuracy. All right, this one is not as accurate as the $2,000 one. But if you are on a budget, or, you know, I have people that just want to try it to see if even eye gaze is an option. for, for the money, and you can return this on Amazon. You know that, right? Amazon Prime, anything can be returned in 30 days, most likely. So you could buy it, try it, and return it if you didn't like it. And here's where I put the free software. Each Willicoast or Chip speaking. This you can download into any Windows computer and make it a communication device. Whatever you type into the computer, it will come out through the software. So I have some slides about seating and positioning and how crucial it is. All right, and I always include this slide, although it's not my person. But when I was young, green, and my first assignment for somebody with ALS, to get them on a computer, because his name was Paul and he was a Holocaust survivor and he wanted to write his memoirs. And it was, he really wanted to get on a computer. I didn't ask because I didn't know how he was seated. And literally when I went to his house, this is how he was seated. All right. So you can't get somebody onto a communication device when they're in that prone position. We had to get him upright, get his head steady, get support, and then I could get him on a computer. All right. So it is crucial, not just for comfort. Who wants to sit like that? But also for breathing. When I get my chest out, I can breathe easier. All right. If my neck is weak, I can support my neck by tilting back. All right. It is so important. And I sometimes think it's so overlooked. People say communication is more important. No, getting them upright and then communicating is just as important. All right. So you can also better perform tasks of daily living, eating. All right. Try eating in that position. I mean, that's swallowing. No. Okay. So I just want to give you an overview of some of the chairs that our folks use. Now, remember, I said you get one chair every 5 years, so make it count. Hold your benefit if you can to getting your high-end power wheelchair, because if you get this little transport chair for $200 from insurance, you're never going to get your $32,000 power wheelchair from insurance. Okay, so unless, of course, you change insurances, but I mean, that's, a whole different ball game, but you want the most bang for your buck. And so if you can, you want your power wheelchair to have these features. This is called a tilt-in space. Notice he is out, that's probably a little over 45 degrees. And that way the pressure has gone from his buttocks down to his back. So that prevents pressure sores. And that's what we want. We don't want pressure sores, okay? And this one goes into a recline. Some of our folks find their wheelchair so comfortable they sleep in it at night. All right. But if you're not interested or don't want a power wheelchair, or you can't drive it for some reason, you can get custom manual with that tilt-in space, as you can see here. Okay. But most people start off with just a transport chair to get them from point A to B. And then they move themselves up into, a manual wheelchair, which is often loaned. It's a loaner, and then they'll move themselves up into the power. The only thing on a power wheelchair that is not fundable is the seat elevator. That brings your seat up to what I like to call bar stool height, so that you can go into a restaurant and be at the same height as a bar stool, or as you can see here, being able to get up high enough to reach this is the crosswalk. But a lot of people like to be at eye level. Okay, that is, Medicare has deemed that a caregiver convenience for some reason or another. I know that there is advocacy going on to get this funded through NCART and other organizations. Keep our fingers crossed that it will get covered, because it is a crucial tool. Not only is it nice to be eye level, this helps with transfers, especially if you have a larger man and you have a smaller woman trying to do a transfer. The higher she can get him, the easier the transfer. And it could be the opposite way, but there are many benefits to this seat elevator, and we have to get Medicare to change this. A little bit about wheelchair controls. I get a lot of this question, well, what happens when I can't use a joystick anymore? Well, there are alternative driving options. You have chin option here, and this is a head array where there are sensors embedded here, so that if I lean back, I'm driving forward, left, right, etc. And now there's something called the iDrive, from Evergreen Circuits. This was developed in conjunction with Team Gleason. I do believe, Jeff, New Motion is a reseller? Yes?
That's correct. That's correct.
That is correct.
So
So if you're interested, Team Gleason, and if you're interested in getting iDrive or trialing it, you can contact your local New Motion office. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. And so basically this is eye gaze control for your wheelchair.
Correct.
And so you can actually add the software on. If you have a Toby, you can put the software in your Toby. So it's not like you have two different devices to drive your wheelchair.
Correct.
Very exciting technology.
Very exciting. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, because it wasn't doable before to drive through your eyes. So
Absolutely. And
very
it's
exciting.
not for everyone, but it's when we trial and it works and it's, you know, we get it on the head, and then that's where it makes a huge difference for some folks and their mobility.
It does. And one of my colleagues said, I think it was Colorado Medicaid just funded it. So I think it's going to get picked up more and more. We're going to see. So keep our fingers crossed. Just want to talk a little bit about wheelchair integration, because the environmental control unit in a wheelchair can also control your cell phone. It can act as a mouse on a computer. So it's called mouse emulation. It can give you access to your speech generating device, your computer, your phone, and your tablet. And I know I don't have enough time to talk about it, but your wheelchair person can help you certainly with your wheelchair integration. So adaptive vehicles, you know, those wheelchairs that I'm talking about, the power wheelchairs, they're heavy and they can't break down to be put in the trunk. So once you're in a power wheelchair, you need that wheelchair to go with you and travel in an adaptive vehicle. So I just have here, this is just a minivan, can be any make. Most popular are Dodges, but you know, Toyota and Honda, they all can be converted. And then you have full-size vans, and this one actually has a raised roof so that you have different options. The only funding stream for adapted vehicles, besides if you get a waiver from Medicaid for that one time, is the VA. And there is a grant to pay, the VA has a grant to pay for vehicle modifications. The VA also has a grant to pay for home modifications. That's another area that is not fundable under insurance. And there's a lot of decision making that has to come into home modifications, because unfortunately, less than 3.5% of current single homes in the world have accessibility features. And the features that we're looking for are 0-step entries, single floor living, and wide hallways and doors. So there's a lot of questions about, you know, how to make your home accessible, how to be safe. And it's safe not only for you, but it's safety for your caregiver and the people that are caring for you. So as the slide said, in the US, the Veterans Administration is the only organization that will reliably fund home renovations. The VA housing grant for 2021 is $102,900. So 102,900, somewhere in between, some right around there. I'm missing the cents on it, but so you have access to $102,000 to make modifications for your home. And then also with the VA, there's something called the HISA grant, which is run by different departments, run by a prosthetic department. It's upwards of $10,000 to pay for a ramp. So those two combined can really make a difference in your home modifications. But what happens when you don't have that? All right, when you have to make your own modifications, so you want to focus on safety. Your modifications might not be aesthetically ideal for you. You might have to make a compromise on that. You know what I get a lot of? I don't want to get rid of my throw rugs. All right, but throw rugs are dangerous if you have foot drop and you might trip and fall. All right, so I don't know. I have a throw rug here. I get rid of it. You know, I'm not married to it, but there are a lot of people who just don't want to make some changes. They don't like change. They like their home to look like they like it to look. But again, focusing on safety, you might want to consult with if you go to a clinic, talk to your occupational or physical therapist, assistive technologist, because you want to talk about your obstacles in the home. And most of them that I see are getting in and out of the home and bathroom accessibility. And then in the new construction, don't we love these curved staircases? Except putting a stair glide or a curved staircase is considered custom, and they start at around $8,000. So it's not cheap to go up a curved staircase. In my area in Philadelphia, we are literally king of the row homes. So we have row homes that have these narrow staircases, 25 inches or so, and then sometimes narrow thresholds. So I put this out there that we do offer free virtual home assessments provided by yours truly, funded by the National Association. If you would like me to take a virtual visit of your home, I go in through Zoom or through FaceTime, whatever works for you, and we talk about what areas you're concerned about. I can give you ideas. I call it how to modify your home without breaking down walls. You're welcome to break down a wall if you want, but you don't necessarily have to. There's lots of assistive technology that I can recommend that doesn't require breaking down your walls. So with that being said, I went over, I'm sorry. I tried to really compile as much as I could without taking too much time. I'm very sorry. But if you have questions, please email me. Also reach out to me on social media. I love Twitter. I probably need an intervention at this point. So you can always reach me there. On Facebook, I have a professional page.
Well, thank you very much, Alisa. I can't, that was just an amazing amount of information packed into a very short time. I liked your comment that you made about spending an hour on each one of those topics easily, and you probably could spend that in much more. So just again, an incredible amount of information for our Indiana pals and all those that have been impacted. So thank you so much.
Sure.
At this time, we will begin our questions and answers portion. Ms. Connie Simpson from the ALS Association will begin reading all the questions and directing them at the appropriate person. Ms. Connie, do you have any questions at this time or any comments that have been posted in the chat or Q&A section?
We do. We actually have quite a few comments just about great information. Somebody who had forgotten about the fall detection on the Apple Watch. But the question was, is the Toby the only device that, I'm sorry, now I had an email pop up. The only device that can communicate to a power wheelchair, also for voice banking and voice message banking, are these only compatible with the Toby?
Oh, no. There's others. There are 5 companies in the United States that sell eye gaze. Toby is the biggest, but there's also Eye Gaze Inc., Forbes, Pranky Romack, and iTech Digital. So all of them sell eye gaze devices. The difference really is cameras and resolution, and also sometimes service and warranty. So if you are getting an eye gaze from your insurance, every insurance follows Medicare guidelines, and Medicare mandates that you be shown more than one device. So at that assessment, you would be shown, here's a Toby and here's, the Ion from iTech Digital. And then the therapist should tell you, what the differences are and then let you trial them each. And voice banking works on anything. A communication device, I can voice bank on my phone, my tablet, and there are apps for the iPad that you can use your banked voice on.
Okay, great information. The other question that came up is there insurance coverage for the Echo Dot or any of the other medical alert systems that you discussed?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Insurance will only pay for what is deemed medically appropriate and can't be used by somebody without a disability. And that's the problem with smart speakers. Anybody can use them.
Okay. And then the question came up when you were talking about the Echo Dot was, could you do the same thing with an iPad and FaceTime?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's not I mean, I guess you could voice activate it. It could. I just have my Echo sitting in the middle of my room and then I talk with it. I don't have to set it up and turn it on. It's always on. But yeah, you can use FaceTime for the same thing. Sure.
Okay. And I think those were the only questions that came in while we were talking. There was an email that I did receive that the individual was interested in receiving the hour-long videos that you were talking about. So we just share with them that, yep, right there.
They're right there. And so they're broken down. Some of them are not hour long, but they're broken down by topic. And one of the things that I didn't even include here that I do have a video on is assistive technology for eating and drinking. There's a lot out there. And so that I think that's about a half hour long, but I talk about, you know, how to put a device on the back of your wheelchair, sorry, with a long straw and things like that. So items to think about.
Outstanding. Well, it looks like then that this concludes our presentation on assistive technology for people living with and impacted by ALS. On behalf of New Motion and the ALS Association Indiana chapter, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for this month's webinar. Join us all again on May 24th with our special guest, Cynthia Kanaki, National Director of Care Services for the ALS Association. She will provide a special presentation on respiratory therapy for people with ALS. For more information about the Indiana chapter's events or this webinar series, please visit alsaindiana.org. Thank you again for attending. We will continue to serve and advocate for people living with and impacted by ALS today and tomorrow until there's a cure. Stay safe and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you,
Jeff,
and thank you, New Motion.
Thank you, guys. And I just will send a quick reminder that this video is being recorded and will be available through our social sites and our state website.
Awesome. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.